They say you can tell everything about a man by what he does when no one's watching. But what about when everyone's watching? Ethan Walker lived by one simple rule. Keep your head down, do your work, and protect what matters. At 40 years old, he'd learned that heroes didn't get happy endings. They got bills, debt, and nights spent wondering if tomorrow would be the day everything finally fell apart. He was a commercial fisherman in Monterey, California. A single father. A widower who still slept on one side of the bed 3 years after cancer took his wife. His life wasn't glamorous. It was survival wrapped in salt water and diesel fumes. But it was his. And for his 8-year-old son, Noah, it was enough. Until the ocean decided to test him one last time. One foggy November evening, Ethan heard something he couldn't ignore. A sound that cut through the wind and waves like a scream trapped underwater. Splashing, gasping, desperation. He didn't think. He dove. The icy Pacific swallowed him whole, currents stronger than his aging body, pulling him toward the rocks. But Ethan had spent half his life on these waters. He knew how to fight them. He reached her just as her head went under, pulled her to shore, breathed life back into lungs that had already given up. Her name was Hannah, or so she said. She was fragile, foreign, terrified. She thanked him in broken English, bowed like someone who wasn't used to being saved by strangers. Ethan didn't ask questions. He just brought her home, gave her dry clothes, and made her soup. Noah smiled at her. That was enough. What Ethan didn't know was that the woman shivering in his kitchen wasn't just a traveler who'd lost her way. She was Kim Hae-rin, daughter of one of South Korea's most powerful conglomerate chairmen, an heiress whose family empire stretched from Seoul to Los Angeles to London. A woman who'd fled corporate sabotage, forced engagement, and a life built on surveillance and control. She came to California to disappear. And for a while, she did. But secrets have a way of surfacing. And when the truth finally came out, in front of San Francisco's wealthiest elite, under chandeliers worth more than Ethan's entire life, only one question would remain. Can love survive when the rescue is over? Ethan Walker woke up the same way he had for the last 3 years. Alone. The alarm buzzed at 4:30 a.m. He silenced it before the second beep, swung his legs over the side of the bed, and planted his feet on the cold hardwood floor. The house was silent except for the distant crash of waves against the Monterey shoreline. Noah was still asleep down the hall. That was good. The kid needed rest. School had been brutal lately. Math homework, spelling tests, and questions Ethan didn't always have answers for. Dad, why don't we have a mom anymore? Ethan rubbed his face and stood. He didn't have time to think about that now. The kitchen was small but functional. Ethan put on coffee, the old machine sputtering to life like it was offended by the early hour. While it brewed, he packed his gear. Thermos, gloves, bait kit, rain jacket. His boat, the Sarah May, named after his late wife, was docked at Fisherman's Wharf. He'd need to check the engine before heading out. It had been making a weird grinding noise last week. Probably needed a part he couldn't afford yet. Money was tight. It always was. Sarah's medical bills had buried them. Even with insurance, the treatments, the specialists, the experimental drugs that didn't work, it all added up. After she passed, Ethan sold their second car, downsized to this rental near Cannery Row, and threw himself into fishing. 12-hour days. Sometimes 16. Anything to keep his mind off the empty space beside him. He poured his coffee, black, and stood by the window overlooking the bay. The fog was thick this morning, rolling in like a gray blanket over the water. November in Monterey was like that. Beautiful and unforgiving at the same time. Ethan drank slowly, letting the caffeine work its way into his system. He thought about the dock fees due next week. The payment plan he was barely keeping up with. The look on Noah's face when he asked if they could go to Disneyland like his classmates. Maybe next year, bud. Next year. Always next year. By 5:15, Ethan was out the door. He left a note for Noah on the counter. The usual. Cereals in the cabinet. Lock the door when you leave for school. Love you, Dad. Mrs. Chun next door would check on him before the bus came. She always did. The drive to the wharf was quiet. Monterey was still asleep, the streets empty except for a few other fishermen heading to their boats. Ethan parked his beat-up Ford near the docks and grabbed his gear. The salty air hit him immediately, sharp and familiar. This was home. More than the house. More than anywhere else. The Sarah May rocked gently in her slip. Ethan climbed aboard, checked the lines, and fired up the engine. It coughed, sputtered, then roared to life. Good enough. He spent the next hour working, setting nets, checking coordinates, listening to the weather report on the radio. Light swells, fog clearing by noon. It'd be a decent day if the fish cooperated. But Ethan wasn't thinking about fish. He was thinking about Noah's parent-teacher conference next month. About the new shoes the kid needed because he'd outgrown his old ones. About the fact that he was 40 years old, alone, and running on fumes. Sarah used to say he worried too much. You're a good man, Ethan. Good men don't drown. They float. He smiled at the memory. Then the engine made that grinding noise again, and the smile faded. By mid-morning, Ethan had hauled in a modest catch. Enough to cover the week, maybe a little extra if he got lucky at the market. He was pulling in the last net when his phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Chun. Noah forgot his lunch. I gave him mine. He's fine. Don't worry. Ethan exhaled. Of course he forgot. The kid had his head in the clouds half the time, just like his mother. He finished up, stored the catch, and headed back to shore. The sun was trying to break through the fog now, casting pale gold light over the water. For a moment, Ethan just stood there, hands on the wheel, letting himself feel it. The quiet, the salt, the rhythm of the boat beneath him. This was all he had. And for now, it was enough. He docked around 2 p.m., sold his catch to a buyer at the wharf, and pocketed $340. Not great. Not terrible. Enough to keep the lights on for another week. On his way home, Ethan stopped at the small market on Lighthouse Avenue and picked up groceries. Pasta, sauce, bread, milk, apples. The cashier recognized him. How's Noah? Good. Growing like a weed. That's kids for you. Ethan paid, grabbed the bags, and left. Back at the house, he found Noah on the couch watching cartoons. Homework spread out on the coffee table. Hey, bud. Hey, Dad. Mrs. Chun said you forgot your lunch. Noah didn't look up. I wasn't that hungry. Ethan sat down beside him, ruffling his hair. You gotta eat, kiddo. I know. They sat there for a while, the TV flickering in the background. Ethan didn't say what he was thinking. That he wished he could give Noah more. That he wished Sarah was here. That he wished the ocean would give him one good break. But the ocean didn't work like that. The ocean gave. And the ocean took. And Ethan Walker had learned to live with both. The fog came back that evening, thicker than before. Ethan stood on the back porch, beer in hand, watching the mist roll in from the bay. Noah was inside finishing his homework. The kid had been quieter than usual tonight. Ethan figured it was just exhaustion. School. Life. Growing up without a mom. He took a sip of his beer and listened to the waves. The sound was hypnotic. Constant. Like a heartbeat that never stopped. Sarah used to love sitting out here with him. She'd bring her tea, curl up in the old wicker chair, and they'd just exist together. No words needed. Ethan missed that. He finished his beer and was about to head inside when he heard it. A sound. Faint. Almost swallowed by the wind. Splashing. He froze. Listened. There it was again. Frantic. Desperate. Coming from the cliffs near the point. Dad. Noah stood in the doorway, backpack slung over one shoulder. Stay inside, Ethan said, already moving. Where are you going? Just stay inside. Ethan grabbed his jacket and sprinted toward the cliffs. The path was slippery, the rocks slick with seawater and fog. He could barely see 10 feet ahead of him. But he followed the sound. The splashing. The gasping. And then he saw her. A figure in the water, arms flailing, head going under. She was caught in the current, being pulled toward the rocks. Ethan didn't think. He dove. The cold hit him like a punch to the chest. The Pacific in November was brutal, 48 degrees, maybe colder. His muscles seized. His lungs burned. But he kicked hard, fought the current, and swam toward her. She went under again. Ethan pushed harder. His arms screamed. His legs cramped. But he reached her, grabbed her jacket, pulled her head above water. I got you, he shouted. I got you. She didn't respond. Her eyes were wide, terrified, already starting to roll back. Ethan hooked his arm around her chest and kicked toward shore. The waves fought him. The rocks loomed closer. He could feel the undertow pulling at his legs, trying to drag them both down. But Ethan had spent half his life in these waters. He knew how to survive them. With one final surge of strength, he dragged her onto the rocky beach. She wasn't breathing. Her lips were blue. Her skin ice cold. Ethan flipped her onto her back, tilted her head, and started chest compressions. Come on. Come on. 30 compressions. 2 breaths. Nothing. Don't you dare. 30 more. 2 more breaths. Her body convulsed. She coughed, seawater spilling from her mouth. Ethan turned her on her side as she vomited, gasping for air. You're okay, he said, his voice shaking. You're okay. She looked up at him, eyes wide, confused. She tried to speak, but only managed a weak sound. Ethan pulled off his jacket and wrapped it around her. Can you stand? She shook her head. He scooped her up, cradling her like she weighed nothing, and carried her back toward the house. His legs were numb, his hands shaking. But he didn't stop. Noah was standing on the porch, eyes wide. Dad, what? Get towels. Now. The kid disappeared inside. Ethan carried the woman through the door and laid her on the couch. She was shivering violently, her teeth chattering so hard he thought they might crack. Noah returned with an armful of towels. Ethan wrapped them around her, rubbing her arms to generate warmth. Should I call 911? Noah asked. Ethan looked at the woman. She grabbed his wrist, weak but insistent. No, she whispered. No hospital. Her accent was thick. Foreign. Korean, maybe. You almost died, Ethan said. No hospital. Please. Her eyes were pleading. Desperate. Ethan hesitated, then nodded. Okay. No hospital. Noah brought more blankets. Ethan built a fire in the fireplace, something he rarely did because of the cost. But tonight wasn't about cost. Tonight was about keeping someone alive. The woman sat by the fire, wrapped in blankets, staring at the flames. She didn't speak, just shivered, and stared. Ethan made her tea, brought her soup. She ate slowly, mechanically, like she was somewhere else entirely. What's your name? Ethan finally asked. She looked up at him. Her eyes were dark. Haunted. Hannah, she said quietly. Hannah, Ethan repeated. I'm Ethan. This is Noah. Noah waved awkwardly from the kitchen. Hannah managed a small smile. Thank you. What were you doing out there? Her smile faded. I don't remember. Ethan didn't push. Whatever she was running from, it wasn't his business. But as he watched her sit there, fragile and lost, something shifted in his chest. A feeling he hadn't felt in 3 years. Responsibility. Not for Noah. Not for the boat. For her. And Ethan Walker had no idea that decision would change everything. Hannah stayed. Not permanently. At least, that's what Ethan told himself. Just until she figured out where to go. A few days. Maybe a week. She had no phone. No wallet. No ID. Either she'd lost everything in the water, or she'd never had it to begin with. Ethan didn't ask. He gave her the guest room. Really just a glorified storage space with a futon and some boxes of Sarah's things he hadn't been able to donate. Hannah didn't complain. She thanked him quietly, bowed slightly, and closed the door. That first night, Ethan lay awake wondering what the hell he was doing. He had a kid to think about. Bills to pay. He didn't need a stranger in his house. Especially one who wouldn't go to a hospital. Who wouldn't explain what happened. But when he heard her crying through the wall, soft, muffled sobs she tried to hide, he knew he couldn't turn her out. Not yet. The next morning, Noah woke up to the smell of something he hadn't experienced in years. Homemade breakfast. Ethan walked into the kitchen to find Hannah at the stove, flipping pancakes. She'd found the apron Sarah used to wear, the one with the faded sunflowers. She looked small in it. Fragile. But her movements were confident. Good morning, she said softly. Ethan stared. You didn't have to. You saved my life. It is small thanks. Noah appeared in the doorway, eyes wide. Are those real pancakes? Hannah smiled. Yes. With blueberries. The kid practically launched himself into a chair. Ethan sat down more slowly, still processing. Hannah served them both, then stood by the counter, hands folded. Aren't you eating? Ethan asked. I am not hungry. Sit down, Hannah. She hesitated, then obeyed. They ate in silence at first. Noah devoured 3 pancakes in record time. Ethan ate slower, watching Hannah out of the corner of his eye. She picked at her food, pushing it around her plate more than eating it. These are really good, Noah said, mouth full. Thank you. My mom used to make pancakes on Sundays. The table went quiet. Hannah looked at Noah, then at Ethan. Your mother? She started carefully. She is? She died, Noah said matter-of-factly. 3 years ago. Hannah's face softened. I am sorry. Noah shrugged. It's okay. Dad takes care of me. Ethan cleared his throat. Finish up, bud. Bus comes in 20. Noah scarfed down the rest, and ran upstairs to brush his teeth. The moment he was gone, the silence returned. Heavier this time. You did not have to tell me, Hannah said quietly. He tells everyone. Kid doesn't have a filter. He is brave. Ethan looked at her. He's 8. Bravery does not have an age. Ethan didn't know what to say to that. So he didn't say anything. Just cleared the plates and started washing them. Hannah stood, moved beside him, and started drying. You don't have to. Please. Let me help. They worked side by side. The silence wasn't uncomfortable. Just there. Like two people who'd learned to exist in the quiet. When Noah left for school, Ethan expected Hannah to retreat to her room. Instead, she asked if there was anything she could do. You're a guest, Ethan said. I am a burden. You're not. She looked at him with those dark, searching eyes. Then let me be useful. Ethan sighed. Fine. You can fold laundry. She smiled. Just a little. Thank you. The days blurred together. Hannah cleaned, cooked, helped Noah with his homework in the afternoons. She was patient with him in ways Ethan wasn't. Gentle. She'd sit at the kitchen table and go through his spelling words one by one, encouraging him when he got frustrated. It is okay to make mistakes, she'd say. That is how we learn. Noah liked her. That much was obvious. He asked her questions about Korea, about food, about whether she knew Taekwondo. Hannah answered patiently, sometimes laughing at his assumptions. Ethan watched from a distance, hands wrapped around a beer, trying to ignore the warmth spreading in his chest. This was temporary. It had to be. One evening, after Noah went to bed, Ethan found Hannah on the back porch. She was staring out at the ocean, wrapped in one of his old sweatshirts. The fog had rolled in again, thick and gray. You okay? He asked. She didn't turn around. Do you ever feel like the ocean is calling you? Ethan leaned against the railing. Every day. But you do not go. I have a kid. Can't just disappear. Hannah nodded slowly. Yes. Responsibility. You say that like it's a bad thing. It is not bad. It is heavy. Ethan studied her profile. You running from something, Hannah? She finally looked at him. Her eyes glistened in the dim light. Is it so obvious? You don't exactly scream tourist. She almost smiled. No, I do not. You don't have to tell me. But if you're in trouble, I'm not in trouble. Not the kind you think. Then what kind? Hannah looked back at the ocean. The kind that does not go away. Ethan wanted to push, but something in her expression stopped him. So he just stood there, shoulder to shoulder with a woman he barely knew, listening to the waves crash against the rocks. Thank you, she said after a while. For what? For not asking more. Ethan shrugged. Everyone's got ghosts. Hannah turned to him, really looked at him this time. And for a moment, Ethan saw something shift in her expression. Something vulnerable. Yes, she whispered. They do. They stood there a little longer. Then Hannah went inside, leaving Ethan alone with the fog and the ocean and the growing certainty that she wouldn't stay forever. And that scared him more than he wanted to admit. It started with small things. A slip of the tongue. A look that lasted too long. The way Hannah's hands trembled when Noah asked her what her parents did for a living. They work, she'd said simply. Doing what? Business. Noah, bless him, accepted that and moved on. But Ethan noticed. He noticed the way she folded her napkin at dinner with mechanical precision. The way she stood when someone knocked on the door, rigid, alert, like a soldier expecting an attack. The way she never mentioned friends. Family. A home to return to. One afternoon, while Hannah was helping Noah with his science project, Ethan's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Mr. Walker? Speaking. This is Detective Ramirez with Monterey PD. We got a report about a possible drowning near the cliffs 2 weeks ago. You live in that area, correct? Ethan's stomach tightened. Yeah. Did you see or hear anything unusual that night? November 14th, around 8 p.m. Ethan glanced toward the kitchen. Hannah was laughing at something Noah said, completely unaware. No, Ethan lied. Nothing unusual. You're sure? Positive. There was a pause. All right. Well, if you remember anything, give us a call. Will do. Ethan hung up. His hands were shaking. Why did he just lie to a cop? That night, after Noah was asleep, Ethan confronted Hannah. She was washing dishes, humming softly to herself. He stood in the doorway, arms crossed. Who are you? She froze. Didn't turn around. You know who I am. No. I know your name. Or at least, the name you gave me. But I don't know who you are. Hannah set the plate down carefully. Does it matter? A detective called me today, asked about the night I pulled you out of the water. Her shoulders tensed. I lied for you, Hannah, and I don't even know why. She turned to face him. Her eyes were wet. I did not ask you to. No, but you're hiding something, and now I'm part of it. Hannah wrapped her arms around herself. You want me to leave? I want the truth. She looked away. I cannot give you that. Why not? Because if I do, you will not want me here. Ethan stepped closer. Try me. Hannah shook her head. You have been kind to me, Ethan. Kinder than anyone has been in a very long time. I do not want to ruin that. You're not ruining anything. You're making it better. Noah's happier. The house feels alive again. He paused. But I can't help you if I don't know what I'm protecting you from. Hannah's breath hitched. I am not who you think I am. I don't think you're anyone. That's the problem. She laughed bitterly. You are right. Here, I am no one. And that is exactly what I wanted. Ethan frowned. What does that mean? Hannah wiped her eyes. In my country, I am someone people bow to. Someone they fear. Someone they use. Her voice cracked. I came here to escape that. Escape what? Everything. Ethan wanted to push harder, but the look on her face stopped him. Whatever she was running from, it was bigger than a bad relationship. Bigger than debt. It was something that had stripped her down to nothing and left her drowning in the Pacific. Okay, he said quietly. Hannah looked up, surprised. Okay. You don't have to tell me. Not yet. He exhaled. But if someone comes looking for you, no one will. You don't know that. I do. She stepped closer, desperation creeping into her voice. Please, Ethan. Just let me stay a little longer. I will leave before I cause trouble. I promise. Ethan looked at her. Really looked at her. And he saw it. The fear. The loneliness. The weight of something she'd been carrying alone for too long. He knew that weight. He'd been carrying his own for 3 years. All right, he said. But you keep your promise. First sign of trouble, you tell me. Hannah nodded. I will. She didn't. But Ethan wouldn't find that out until it was too late. Ryan Cole noticed Hannah on a Tuesday. It was a clear afternoon, unusually warm for December in Monterey. Hannah had walked down to the wharf with Noah to watch Ethan bring in his catch. She stood near the docks, hands in her pockets, watching the boats sway in the harbor. Ryan was there inspecting his investment, a luxury marina development project that had been the talk of the waterfront for months. He was tall, mid-30s, dressed in clothes that screamed money. The kind of man who'd never worked a day on the water but owned half the docks anyway. He saw Hannah and stopped mid-conversation with his contractor. Who's that? He asked. The contractor shrugged. Don't know. Never seen her before. Ryan walked over. Confident. Entitled. Hey there, he said, flashing a smile that had probably worked on 100 women before. You new in town? Hannah looked at him, polite but distant. I am visiting. Visiting? Lucky town. He extended his hand. Ryan Cole. She didn't take it. Ryan's smile faltered. Not a handshake person. I get it. I'm more of a hugger myself. Hannah's expression didn't change. So, you here alone? No. Oh yeah? Who you with? Noah appeared beside her, holding a bag of chips. We're waiting for my dad. Ryan glanced at the kid, then back at Hannah. His smile returned. Your dad, huh? He a fisherman? Yes, Hannah said. Which boat? The Sarah May. Ryan's eyes lit up with recognition. Oh, Ethan Walker. He said the name like it left a bad taste in his mouth. Yeah, I know him. Hannah's posture stiffened slightly. You are friends. Ryan laughed. Not exactly. Before Hannah could respond, Ethan's boat pulled into the dock. He climbed out, saw Hannah and Noah waiting, and smiled. Then he saw Ryan. The smile disappeared. Cole. Walker. Ryan's tone was mocking. Didn't know you had company. Not your business. Ryan looked at Hannah. She staying with you? Ethan stepped between them. I said it's not your business. Relax, man. Just making conversation. Ryan raised his hands in mock surrender. But hey, since you're here, we should talk about your dock contract. There's nothing to talk about. Oh, I think there is. See, the Harbor Commission's reviewing all the commercial slips, making sure everyone's up to code. You are up to code, right? Ethan's jaw tightened. I've been fishing these waters for 20 years. 20 years on an expired permit? Ryan grinned. Might want to check that. My permit's fine. For now. The threat hung in the air. Ethan stared at Ryan, fists clenched. Noah grabbed Hannah's hand, sensing the tension. Ryan turned back to Hannah. If you ever get tired of slumming it with the working class, give me a call. I'll show you the nicer side of Monterey. He slipped a business card into her hand. Hannah looked at the card. Then, without a word, she dropped it into the water. Ryan's smile vanished. Classy, he muttered. Then he turned and walked away. Ethan exhaled slowly. You okay? Hannah nodded. He is unpleasant. That's one word for it. Noah tugged on Ethan's sleeve. Is he going to take your boat, Dad? No, Bud. He's not. But Ethan's voice lacked conviction. That night, he checked his dock contract. Ryan was right. The permit was expiring in 30 days. Ethan had meant to renew it months ago, but between bills and Noah and everything else, it had slipped through the cracks. And now Ryan Cole, a man with more money than sense and a grudge against anyone who didn't bow to him, knew about it. Ethan sat at the kitchen table, staring at the paperwork, dread settling in his gut. Hannah appeared in the doorway. You are worried. I'm fine. You are lying. Ethan looked up. He's going to make this difficult. Guys like him always do. Why does he dislike you? Because I didn't sell. Ethan leaned back. 2 years ago, Ryan wanted to buy up all the commercial slips and turn them into yacht docks for tourists. I told him no. So did a few others. But Ryan doesn't take no well. And now he will punish you. Probably. Hannah sat down across from him. What will you do? Renew the permit. Pay whatever fee they throw at me. Hope he gets bored and moves on. And if he does not? Ethan didn't answer. Hannah reached across the table and placed her hand on his. You saved my life, Ethan. If you lose something because of me, this isn't about you. But he saw me with you. So what? So men like him, they do not forget. Ethan met her eyes. Neither do I. Hannah squeezed his hand gently. And for a moment, the weight didn't feel so heavy. But trouble was coming. And neither of them was ready for it. The harassment started 2 days later. First, it was a notice from the Harbor Commission. Ethan's dock space was being reevaluated for code compliance. Mandatory inspection scheduled. $500 fee. Then his bait supplier called. Prices had gone up. 30%. No explanation. Then the fuel dock refused his credit. Cash only. Ethan knew what was happening. Ryan Cole had connections. Money. Influence. And he was using all of it to squeeze Ethan out. But Ethan had survived worse. He paid the inspection fee. Passed. Paid cash for fuel. Found a new bait supplier in Carmel. It cost him more time. More money. But he kept going. Until Ryan played his final card. It was a Friday afternoon. Ethan was at the wharf when a man in a suit approached him. Ethan Walker? Yeah. I'm from the California Coastal Commission. There's been a complaint filed against your vessel for environmental violations. Ethan blinked. What violations? Unauthorized discharge. Failure to maintain proper waste containment. That's bullshit. The man didn't flinch. You'll need to attend a hearing. Bring documentation. If the complaint is upheld, your commercial fishing license will be suspended pending further review. Ethan's blood went cold. Who filed the complaint? Anonymous. Of course it was. That night, Ethan sat at the kitchen table surrounded by paperwork. Invoices. Maintenance logs. Proof that he'd done everything by the book. But Ryan didn't need proof. He just needed to delay. To cost Ethan time and money he didn't have. Hannah found him there at midnight, head in his hands. Ethan. He didn't look up. I'm fine. You are not. I said I'm fine. Hannah sat down. This is because of me. It's because of Ryan Cole. Who noticed me? Who wanted me? Who you rejected on my behalf. Her voice broke. This is my fault. Ethan finally looked at her. Don't. I should leave. No. If I am gone, he'll find another excuse. Ethan's voice was hard. Guys like him don't stop. They just find a new target. Hannah's eyes filled with tears. I have money. Not here, but I can. I don't want your money. Then what do you want? Ethan stared at her. And for the first time in 3 years, he felt something crack open inside him. Something he'd buried with Sarah. I want you to stay, he said quietly. Hannah's breath caught. I want you to be safe. I want Noah to keep smiling the way he does when you help him with homework. He exhaled. I want to stop feeling like I'm drowning. Tears spilled down Hannah's cheeks. You saved me. Maybe you saved me too. She reached for his hand. He let her take it. I will fix this, she whispered. You can't. I can. Hannah. Please. Trust me. Ethan wanted to argue, but the look in her eyes stopped him. There was something there. Something he hadn't seen before. Resolve. The next morning, Hannah left the house early. She told Ethan she needed to run errands. He didn't question it. She didn't return until evening. When she walked through the door, Her expression was unreadable. Calm. But beneath it, Ethan could see something else. Regret. Did you fix it? He asked. She nodded. Yes. How? Does it matter? Hannah. It is done, Ethan. The complaint will be dropped. Your license is safe. Ethan stared at her. What did you do? What I had to. And before he could press further, she disappeared into her room and closed the door. Ethan stood there, dread pooling in his stomach. Something had changed, and he didn't know if he'd just been saved or if he'd lost her entirely. 2 days later, the complaint was withdrawn. No explanation. No follow-up. Just gone. Ethan should have felt relief. Instead, he felt fear, because Hannah had stopped smiling. And he knew, deep down, that whatever she'd done to protect him, it had cost her something she couldn't get back. Hannah was different after that. Quieter. Distant. She still cooked breakfast. Still helped Noah with homework. But there was a hollowness to her now, like she was going through motions while her mind was somewhere else. Ethan tried to reach her, asked if she was okay, if something happened. But Hannah would just smile, that sad, broken smile, and say she was fine. She wasn't fine. And then, one morning, she was gone. Ethan woke up to an empty house. No note. No explanation. Just silence. He checked her room. The bed was made. Her few belongings, the clothes he'd given her, the toothbrush from the guest bathroom, were gone. Panic seized him. Noah, he called. The kid appeared, still in his pajamas. What's wrong? Did Hannah say anything to you? About leaving? Noah's face fell. No. Where'd she go? I don't know. Ethan grabbed his phone and called. No one. He didn't have her number. Didn't have her real name. Didn't have anything except a first name and a sinking feeling in his gut. He threw on clothes and ran to the wharf. Asked the other fishermen if they'd seen her. No one had. He checked the cliffs where he'd found her. Empty. He drove to the bus station. The train station. Showed people her description. No one remembered seeing her. By nightfall, Ethan was back at the house, sitting on the couch, staring at nothing. Noah sat beside him, small and scared. Is she coming back? I don't know, bud. Did we do something wrong? No. We didn't do anything wrong. But Ethan felt like he had. He felt like he'd failed her. Let her carry something alone when she'd needed help. That night, he couldn't sleep. He paced the house. Checked his phone every 5 minutes. Stood on the porch and stared at the ocean like it might give him answers. It didn't. 3 days passed. Then a week. Ethan went through the motions. Fished. Took care of Noah. Paid his bills. But the house felt empty again. Like it had after Sarah died. Worse, maybe. Because at least with Sarah, he'd gotten to say goodbye. One evening, Mrs. Chin knocked on the door. Ethan? You okay, honey? Yeah. Fine. She gave him a look. You don't look fine. I'm just tired. She handed him a casserole. Well, you gotta eat. And so does Noah. Thanks. She hesitated. That girl who was staying with you, she leave? Ethan nodded. You care about her. It wasn't a question. Yeah, he admitted. I do. Mrs. Chun patted his arm. Then she'll come back. Good ones always do. But Ethan wasn't sure anymore. The second week ended. Still nothing. Ethan started to accept it. Hannah was gone. Whatever she'd been running from had caught up with her. Or maybe she'd just decided she didn't need saving anymore. Either way, she was gone. And then, on a Tuesday morning, Ethan's phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. But something made him pick up. Mr. Walker? Yeah. This is James Park. I represent Miss Kim Hae-rin. Ethan froze. Who? The woman you know as Hannah. Miss Kim would like to extend an invitation to you and your son. There's an event this Saturday evening in San Francisco. The Fairmont Hotel. A car will be sent to collect you at 5 p.m. Wait, what? Formal attire is required. If you do not have appropriate clothing, arrangements can be made. I don't understand. Miss Kim will explain everything. Will you attend? Ethan's mind raced. Is she okay? A pause. She is, as well as can be expected. That's not an answer. It is the only one I can provide. Will you attend, Mr. Walker? Ethan closed his eyes. Yeah, I'll be there. Excellent. The car will arrive promptly at 5 p.m. this Saturday. The line went dead. Ethan stood there, phone in hand, heart pounding. Kim Hae-rin, not Hannah. And suddenly, everything made sense. And nothing did. The black SUV arrived exactly at 5 p.m. Ethan stood on his porch in a borrowed suit, courtesy of a rush trip to Macy's and a very confused sales associate. Noah was beside him in slacks and a button-up shirt. looking uncomfortable but excited. We're really going to San Francisco? Noah asked. Looks like it. The driver stepped out. Young. Professional. He opened the rear door without a word. Ethan and Noah climbed in. The interior was leather. Spotless. Expensive. Ethan had never been in a car this nice. He glanced at Noah, who was already pressing buttons on the armrest. Don't break anything, Ethan muttered. The drive took 2 hours. They crossed the Golden Gate Bridge just as the sun began to set, painting the bay in shades of orange and gold. Noah pressed his face to the window, mesmerized. Ethan tried to focus on the view, but all he could think about was Hannah. Kim Hae-rin. Who the hell was she? The car pulled up to the Fairmont Hotel, a towering, elegant structure perched atop Nob Hill. Valets swarmed. Limousines lined the street. People in designer gowns and tuxedos streamed through the entrance. Ethan felt a wave of nausea. This is insane, he muttered. The driver opened the door. Mr. Walker. This way, please. Ethan and Noah followed him through the lobby, marble floors, chandeliers, everything gleaming, and into a grand ballroom. The room was massive. Hundreds of people. A string quartet. Tables draped in white linen. Champagne flutes on silver trays. Ethan felt every eye turned toward him. He didn't belong here. A man in a tuxedo approached. Mr. Walker. Please, this way. He led them to a table near the front. Reserved. Ethan sat, Noah beside him, both of them silent. The lights dimmed. A voice echoed through the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this evening for the Pacific Maritime Foundation Gala. Tonight, we celebrate innovation, sustainability, and the future of our oceans. Applause. And now, please welcome our keynote speaker, Miss Kim Hae-rin, CEO of Daehan Global Industries. The room erupted in applause. Ethan's heart stopped. A spotlight hit the stage. And there she was. Hannah. But not Hannah. She wore a tailored black gown, her hair swept back, makeup flawless. She moved with confidence, poise, like she'd done this 1,000 times. She stepped to the microphone. The room fell silent. Good evening, she said. Her voice was steady, commanding, nothing like the soft, hesitant woman who'd sat at his kitchen table. Thank you for being here. Tonight, we discuss the future, but I want to talk about the past. She paused. 3 months ago, I made a mistake. I ran. From responsibility. From pressure. From a life that felt like a cage. Her eyes scanned the crowd. I ran so far that I nearly drowned. Gasps rippled through the room. But I was saved. By a man who asked for nothing in return. A man who gave me shelter. Food. Kindness. Who treated me like a person, not a title. Ethan's throat tightened. Hannah's gaze found his. Mr. Ethan Walker is here tonight. And I owe him my life. The room turned. Hundreds of eyes locked on Ethan. He wanted to disappear. Hannah continued. Ethan is a fisherman. A father. A man who has lost everything and still chose to give. He did not know who I was. And when he found out, her voice cracked. He did not ask for anything. She looked directly at him now. But I asked something of him tonight. I asked for forgiveness. For lying. For leaving. For putting his life at risk to protect mine. Silence. And I asked this room, these people of power and privilege, to remember what real strength looks like. It is not wealth. It is not influence. It is choosing to save someone when it costs you everything. The applause started slowly, then built, until the entire room was on its feet. Ethan sat frozen. Hannah stepped off the stage and walked toward him. The crowd parted. She stopped in front of his table. Ethan. He stood, stared at her. This stranger in familiar skin. Why didn't you tell me? He asked quietly. Because I wanted you to see me. Not my name. Not my money. Her eyes glistened. I wanted someone to choose me for who I am. I did. I know. A tear slipped down her cheek. And that is why I left. Because staying would have destroyed you. You don't know that. Ryan Cole works for one of my father's competitors. When I intervened to protect you, I exposed myself. They know where I am now. And they will come. Ethan's jaw tightened. Let them. You do not understand. I understand that you're still the same person who made pancakes for my son, who sat on my porch and stared at the ocean, who made me feel something again. He stepped closer. I don't care who your father is. I don't care about the money. I care about you. Hannah shook her head. You saved me once, Ethan. You cannot save me again. Maybe I don't need to. He reached for her hand. Maybe we save each other. The room was silent. Watching. Hannah looked down at their joined hands. Then back up at him. I am not easy to love. Neither am I. She laughed through her tears. What if I ruin your life? What if you don't? Hannah closed her eyes. And when she opened them, something had shifted. Okay, okay, okay. Ethan pulled her into his arms. And the room, the gala, the chandeliers, the wealth, all of it faded away. Because in that moment, it was just them. The man who lived by the sea, and the woman the ocean returned. The aftermath was messier than any fairy tale. Hannah didn't move back to Monterey immediately. There were legal matters, corporate obligations, a father and soul who needed convincing that his daughter wasn't throwing her life away. But she visited. Every weekend. Sometimes more. And slowly, carefully, they built something real. Ethan learned about her world. The board meetings. The scrutiny. The weight of a family empire built over 3 generations. Hannah learned about his. The early mornings. The tight budgets. The quiet joy of watching Noah grow. They didn't fit on paper, but they fit in life. Ryan Cole tried to cause trouble one more time. Filed another complaint. Spread rumors. This time, Hannah didn't intervene. Ethan handled it himself. He hired a lawyer, pro bono, courtesy of a maritime legal clinic in San Jose. Fought the complaint. Won. And when Ryan showed up at the wharf one last time, Ethan looked him dead in the eye and said, "You done?" Ryan left. He didn't come back. 6 months later, Hannah stood in Ethan's kitchen making pancakes. Noah was at the table doing homework. Ethan was on the porch with his coffee, watching the fog roll in. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. "Dad," Noah called. "Hannah says we can go to Korea next summer." Ethan smiled. "Does she now?" Hannah appeared in the doorway, apron on, flower in her hair. "If you want. Do I need a tux?" "No. Just you." Ethan set down his coffee and walked over. Pulled her close. "Just me, huh? Just you." He kissed her. Soft. Certain. Because love didn't need rescue. It just needed choice. And they chose each other. Every single day. The end.